you guys? It's Ilson 4K, and we're continuing onward with Halloween 3 Into the Unknown today with another awesome unknown horror movie you have to check out for sheer morbid curiosity. But for those of you asking, what the hell is Halloween? Halloween is a month-long celebration of horror movies that take place on or around Halloween that we do on my channel every year now for the third year in a row. And this year we're doing things a little bit different. Instead of looking at the mainstream hits everybody knows, such as your Halloweens, your Terrifiers, or your Trick-or-Treats, we're actually going to look at lesser-known films in the archetype, hence the title Halloween 3 Into the Unknown. And this one is definitely an interesting one. This one is from 1976, making it the oldest film on this list, and it's called The Clown Murders. And even stranger is the fact that it actually features a huge A-list celebrity before they got famous, and that celebrity is, wait for it, John Candy. Yes, John Candy in a horror film. Just imagine that, Uncle Buck, and it's a pretty crazy thing what happens with him. But the craziest thing about this film is it did come out in 1976, which is right after the Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 1974. And instead of going to that route because the slasher thing hadn't completely blown up yet, this one opted for a bit more of a sleazo crime drama. And that's really what it is. It's what happens if you took a 70s sleazo crime drama and you mixed it with a horror movie from the 70s that didn't really know what to do or be. It's a little hard to watch, not the easiest thing to see, but you definitely have to watch it for the sheer morbid curiosity of the fact, again, John Candy in a horror movie, and when are you ever going to see a sleazo crime drama, melodramatic film mixed up as a horror movie? I mean, it's just something you definitely need to check out. So make sure you stick around, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you don't forget to keep coming back all month long for more Halloween 3 Into the Unknown horror movies.
The United States of America.
Okay, then we meet you back here in about an hour and a half. Everybody ready? Let's go.
Hold it, hold it.
Oh, Charlie, do me a favor. Promise me something.
Now, the plot is pretty interesting. Again, it's got its ups and downs, but it starts out basically with a bunch of rich guys at a country club. Yes, very, very wealthy upperclassmen. It appears that a group of rich individuals is actually very jealous over the fact that one of the other individuals has secured an awesome land deal on a plot that they had all had their eyes on, and he snagged it, and the deal closes at midnight on Halloween night. The individuals decide the best way to stop this deal is by dressing up like clowns and kidnapping his wife from said Halloween party. No lie, they literally kidnapped this man's wife from a Halloween party, chloroform her, throw her on the back of a golf cart, dressed as clowns, and they all drive off with her, and they start finding other places to keep her so that way the husband can't track her down. In the meantime, the husband has realized that his wife has been kidnapped and goes to a detective who seems to have that dual element of, well, how do I know it wasn't you that killed her? Because detectives, of course, consider the husband the prime suspect when a wife goes missing. But as he starts to talk to the husband, he starts realizing the husband probably didn't do this, and something really strange is afoot, and he can't put it together. Meanwhile, the individuals who have kidnapped the wife are having a hard time sustaining the fact that what they did is, again, a kidnapping charge, and every time they move to a different house, things get more and more tense, and they slowly start to turn on each other to the point, and I mean slowly, because this plot is slow, slowly start to turn on each other. And another strange underlying melodramatic affair that seemed like it was popular for the 70s is, of course, these people know the woman, and they show their faces to her, and one of them is actually a guy who had a chance with her many years ago, but blew it, and she seems unbothered by the whole thing, to be quite honest with you. And in the end, she ends up not sleeping with that guy, but she commits an act of infidelity with John Candy. Yes, John Candy is the guy this bad bitch bagged. Good for her. Moving forward from there, we have the whole affair of the police officers really trying to find this woman and putting out an APB, and every time these gentlemen try to move the woman around, they really have to go under the radar so that way the police don't locate her or them. They take other cars, they move to different houses. When they get to the final house, though, is when the climax really starts, because we start finding out that there's a killer who's following them and killing them dressed as a, you guessed it, clown. And he's been shooting them, he stabs them, he gets into a huge fight with one of them. It's really melodramatic, though. It's nothing crazy, the gore isn't over the top. Ironically enough, at one point when the husband does find out where his wife is, he catches her with John Candy, and then from there, takes John Candy out back and proceeds to tie him up. And it's just nuts. It gets to a point where eventually John Candy gets untied, and someone who's coming out of the house that John Candy thinks is the killer gets killed with a shotgun. Yes, John Candy kills someone with a shotgun in a horror movie from the 1970s. I want you to think about that. John Candy killing someone with a shotgun. I mean, just say it to yourself over and over again as many times as you need to, but it's in this film and it's awesome. Eventually the killer almost gets to the wife, but the wife stabs him in the hand and gets him to go away. And whether or not the killer survives, I won't say. Who the killer is, I won't say, because you're going to have to suffer through this film just like I did, because again, this is a spectacle that you need to see just for the morbid curiosity of it.
Be a light at the end of the lane.
My life?
First things first, this film is kind of hard to watch. Not like in the sense of like the entertainment aspect, like the dialogue and the acting and everything else, which is not the greatest, but it is literally hard to watch. It is just super grainy, and it doesn't seem like it ever got a re-release anywhere in like a 1080p format or a 4K format.
That's it. Push! That's it.
All I know is the version I watched on Amazon was really bad when I made it full screen and made watching it a little bit difficult, but again, that's actually far from the least bad thing about this film. I hate to say it. This horror film starts out just like any other horror film. It establishes the characters, their qualities or lack thereof, their motives, everything about them, but it does it in this like really slow and painstaking way, even though, thank God, the acting isn't really that bad at all.
All right. Coming out.
But it's got this like cheese fest and not in a good way 70s crime drama vibe to it that really just kind of makes it a little bit hard to follow and stay in tune with. You see a lot of misogyny in this movie. It was the 1970s, and the stereotype that these are really rich and powerful men that can kind of do whatever they want is really driven home. But again, it's just done in a slow and painstaking way. I remember thinking I must have been at least 35 to 45 minutes into the film, and I was barely 20. And again, combined with the awkward quality, made it a little bit difficult to follow, because really the whole plot is actually pretty unique when you think about it. Bunch of rich guys going to kidnap another rich guy's wife to ruin a deal that he has closing on Halloween night at a Halloween party while dressed as clowns is actually the sign of a pretty well thought out plot. The whole situation grows more dire, though, when these individuals realize, hey, this is actually a kidnapping charge, and we can get in a lot of trouble for this, and they don't really seem to have thought out the consequences of their actions or what could happen afterwards. And then we go to the husband's sides, where we see him looking at a detective, trying to figure out where his wife is, and their narrative is actually pretty cool, too, because they've got the whole, well, how do we know it wasn't you that kidnapped her type of thing.
Did you ever play a game called Monopoly when you were a kid?
Isn't everybody?
And they do a good job, again, of taking that whole horror film and combining it with the 1970s sleazo crime drama and making it pretty melodramatic. Of course, I have to talk about the kills, because people do die in this film as killed by the clown. They're nothing too spectacular. It was 1976. Practical effects were pretty good, but not anywhere near what they would grow to be later on, and they most certainly did not put Texas Chainsaw Massacre effort into this.
Hey, there's a friend of yours out there seems to be having a lot of...
I think this might have been a made-for-TV film, but the whole thing, again, shows promising signs of an interesting plot line, and for its time, this was probably pretty enjoyable, but it's that whole damn quality thing that really makes it hard to watch, literally. Like I said, if you got a 4K television and you blow this up, and you have some sort of AI software that edits films, please make sure to use it on this, because it needs a little bit of help. The lighting is bad. It's really, really hard to see sometimes, but it's its own thing, and it's definitely something, again, to see just to say you saw it, and the fact, again, John Candy kills a man with the shotgun. You have to see it for that alone. Realistically, this film is kind of like a poor man's Hitchcock. It has none of the suspense, none of the plot twists, none of the drama, and none of that oomph that you would expect, and it truly seems like it's a period product of its time. It really seems like somebody was like, all right, this horror thing seems to be taking off a little bit, let's mix it with some sleazo crime drama, and I'm assuming at the time maybe this was interesting, but this is a film that really seems like it didn't please either side, and it's a reminder that a film for everyone is truly, most likely, a film for no one. But at the same time, I'm like blown away that it even exists, and that like there's a spectacle to it, because again, it was just for the time period. You know, I can't believe I spent 90 minutes watching it, because even the interesting parts where like the men have the woman kidnapped and they're inside the house and they start kind of turning on each other, like we've seen in a couple other films on this list, it's something that I felt was just dragged out and didn't really need to happen, and if it did need to happen, it could have happened a lot less dragged out. Another thing, again, is that damn quality, but that's a whole thing I've been crying about this whole time. But the one thing I truly have to commend and applaud is the actors and actresses. Yes, the dialogue isn't that great. Everything else isn't that awesome. But what's really cool is these people gave it their all. They did not phone this in. Sure, the elements of it are cheesy, but that was the time frame. But these actors and actresses absolutely did their best. No phoning in, and tried to be as convincing as possible with a story that was kind of long and drawn out, but they did their best, and you really got to commend them for that. And if there's no other reason to see this film, it's like I said, John Candy killing someone with a shotgun. End of story. Just see it for that, if nothing else. And speaking of seeing that, in the rare event you have seen this film, please comment down below and leave me your opinion on the film, because again, it's one of those that I'm definitely interested to hear what you all have to say. And don't forget, stick around all month long for more Halloween 3 Into the Unknown horror movie reviews as we're continuing this onward. Like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you catch me every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/ILLTV4K, doing horror gaming for the Total Terror Thon Thursday, most likely Silent Hill 2. Then from there, Saturday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Spooktactular Saturday night stream. And one last thing, don't forget, you're watching ILL TV, where if it's pop culture, you know it pops up here. Happy Halloween on behalf of ILL TV, where if it's pop culture, you know it pops up here.